Hello, hello, and good morning, my loves. Ooh, I got fuzz all over my head. Welcome to EQ with Jah. So, I know I do a lot of different types of deep and this and that, but I have really wacky thoughts too. And I know they're true, but they're still wacky, so bear with me. Okay, so we understand that the universe, our universe, the Milky Way, is a very young universe. We also understand that our Earth is a very young planet, which means that we are very young species, which we know. So, I realized in a moment that the universe has nothing but time, which is why time is not a real concept. If you've been here a billion plus years, you ain't got nothing but time. This is what I was like, oh, now I get it. Like, because other parts of the galaxies, there there are thriving living things like us. I always say that if we're alive and we're breathing, something else is out there. Like, we're too amazing to be the only thing that exists like this and not know the source of where we come from. So therefore, there's some source out there that created us. So with that said, we broke off. We were a piece of something that it was probably some experiment, and we broke off. And we're part of the experiment that was not supposed to exist. Come on, kind of like Viagra. Remember, what was it? Viagra was for something that had nothing to do with what it was for. But they were like, oh, well, the side effects is a boner. So let's sell it as erectile dysfunction medicine. Come on, go follow the story. Somebody know the whole thing. Point is that I feel like that's what Earth is. We were something that wasn't meant to survive. We were something that wasn't meant to survive. We had some like God source universe particle on us. We were a piece of rock. There's all these other planets around us. Those are just discarded rocks. We find the beauty in them because we're like, there's these other floating objects out there. Do they have life? And at one point, they probably did have life. I feel like it's the cat again. I feel like personally, now bear with me, I feel like it's the discarded planets. I feel like it used to have life on them, and the universe is like, all right, flush them down the toilet. They're done. Like, they thought Earth was a dead planet after the dinosaurs and all that other stuff and all of the catastrophes. They say, oh, they're a dead planet. Go ahead and flush that down the toilet. And then guess what? Somehow, some way, God still existed. And then the oceans formed. And then the earth and everything and the formations of the land formed. And then the air got right. And then little creatures started popping up in the water. And then things started to gain life and evolution. And in retrospect, compared to other things in time, which does not really exist in that relative time of thinking. If I've been around a billion years, time don't mean shit. Okay, so if out of nowhere, within a few first 100 years, this little thing popped up that shouldn't even be alive, just now existing, the universe is like, I keep getting a weird feeling something's out there, something that is a part of me, something that I'm missing. Come on, follow me. This is how we feel about the soul, that soul yearning. I feel like there's more of me. I feel like there's something out there that I'm not in touch with. Just as much as we're yearning a sense of home, there's something that is yearning a sense of something's missing from me. Because this is how we work. This is the law of polarity and how the body works. We've done enough science as these creatures that have evolved past every other creature on this earth to have a cognitive reason and be like, oh, we can actually learn based on our own environment and then adjust. This is why other spirits and energies, when people started to really notice, this is not a spirit of agape love. This is not a spirit of, if you look at other animals, even if they eat each other, they still live copacetically, symbiotically in a state of democracy without hurting each other at all times. So I don't understand why humans feel like, well, we're too close. We're different species. That's how we fight. We're not different species. We're the same damn species. We just have different cultural understandings from the regions we grew up in, just like anything else that has like different species. I mean, come on. There's different species within that, but there's different bears based on the regions they are. They're still bears. So we understand that, yes, we are broken down that way if we try to keep focusing like we're a different species. Sure, humans, we're a different species. Each race or each ethnicity is a different species. If that makes you feel better, they still know how to coexist without feeling like there's competition. It's not about who can eat who. Who can eat who is based on size, right? I'm bigger than you. I have these skills that I know I can subdue you and eat you. You don't see too many tigers trying to eat elephants. I'm just saying. A tiger's a badass motherfucker, but it's not trying to eat an elephant. It's going after things that are a little bit more easy, like gazelles and shit. You know what I'm saying? So let's not play ourselves with competing against each other. We're a system of energy that has to work together to get to a place of understanding the balance. So I realized, okay, if we weren't supposed to exist, then that means our emotions are something that's new to the universe. Do you understand? Emotions are so new to the universe that how many years later are we just now really acknowledging mental health and really acknowledging self-care and really acknowledging taking care of your environment to have a healthy state of being and consciousness? How long? Think about how long it's really taken. We've had a whole system of structure that's like, it's worked this way because we kept rule and control. Because you had more access to things that people didn't at the time of not having technology. Technology has changed the game. That's why it's scary to people. Why do you think our governments and military spend so much money on making weapons of mass destruction? Because they know we have to have something that is greater in physical, tangible fear and understanding of science and actual death than the will and the beauty and the strength of their consciousness and getting back to a mental health with the soul and saying, baby, let's work through what we haven't worked through. And then you start becoming a pure vessel to spirit. Spirit is going to live through you regardless if you believe in spirit. Spirit is the air you breathe. Did you ask to breathe air? Did you? No, that's spirit. Okay, water. Did you ask to need water? Because if you don't drink water, guess what? You're dehydrated, you die. Okay? So, you're made of water. That's spirit. Did you ask to have this flesh in this form? No, that's the earth. It came from the earth. That's spirit. It came from something that materialized that we have no control over, that keeps us alive. Anything that keeps you alive, food, is spirit. That's why when it comes straight from source from Mother Gaia, we say it's the purest form of spirit. And then if an animal eats it and you eat an animal, you still get another level of spirit, but it's a byproduct of spirit. This is why you have to understand what you put into your body is what you become. If you only feast on byproducts of byproducts of byproducts, you're never going to get close to your divinity of clarity. Eating close to source just brings you closer to source because source thrives off of itself. Does that make sense? If you have a bunch of artificial things you're putting in your body, then you have a bunch of artificial thoughts being produced from the chemicals that those artificial things make. Chemical reactions are real, people. That's the whole point. It's never been about controlling what you eat or any of this stuff. It's always been about learning ourselves. So I feel in other places, it never mattered. In other galaxies, it never mattered. I feel like the bodies were always just like, just a vessel to be used to eat and poop and get stuff out. And like the brain and consciousness has always been praised as the winner. So that's why everyone's like, whatever I think and feel is more important. I have to make this decision. This is the tactile decision. They're weighing us down. They're the weak ones. Chop them off. These are currently the strong ones. But then what if your current strong ones become weaker? And then you just cut off a whole group of people who could have grew into their strength. Do you understand? This is why we have to realize that these bodies, I feel, have been, again, it's not a prison unless you make it a prison, but I think that's the beauty of this earth, which is that it gets to teach us that we used to view time as something frivolous to just throw away because we could jump back and forth between multiverses and not think about it. We do it now with our consciousness. People take the credit away from when you can jump between memories and consciousness and realities and create them. That's universes in your head, because if you can then apply it to pen and paper and make a visual of it, now you gave a tangible representation of something that exists somewhere that you're capable of have this much detail to see that. Do you understand? This is why people have to give themselves way more credit for what they hold true as their gifts. If you can see things that other people can't see, express it. If you can say things other people can't say, make it something that's applicable that we can all utilize, because this is how we keep the human part of us alive. The humanity is communicating. If we really didn't give a fuck about each other, we wouldn't talk to each other. We wouldn't have all this shit about cell phones and talking and writing and emails and CC this and all this and Zoom. None of that shit would exist because we wouldn't care. We'd be standalone units, knowing that we have to produce, just like birds and stuff. Like birds fly and shit and they hang out together, but they go back to their own nest. You understand what I mean? Like the birds know that they're their own singular thing, but they also know that they're part of a collective. We are the same thing. They know when it's time to get up and work together. Hey, it's time to migrate. It's time to migrate. They ain't nobody complaining about it. They know, hey, it's gonna get cold. We gonna die. Let's go. Humans, we're like, oh well, they'll figure it out. And then we leave our people behind to suffer and die. That's why I feel like this has been a lesson from the universe where it's like, let's pay attention to the earth. They're a young planet, but they're actually figuring out that emotion crap that we thought meant nothing. That actually stopping to feel how the individual cell feels, since the individual cell then becomes a bigger part of a unit, which is the tissue, and then the tissue becomes some type of muscle or layer, and then that layer, you know where I'm going, I've said it before, becomes the organ, and then that organ is part of a larger system, and that larger system is the organism. This is us. This is it. So it's paying attention to your fingernail. Tell your fingernails thank you. Because as soon as that fingernail bed is ripped off and this is all exposed and hurting, my fingernail, but you didn't think that nail when it was there. These are little cells that are doing work for you at all times. So if we, as a collective conscious of a cell, raise our vibration and realize that we have to come together now as whatever we want to be. If we think we're at the tissue level, great. We're for damn sure ain't at no muscle level, because there's a whole lot of flexing, but ain't nobody doing nothing. I need to see the work. Flex because you're working. Flex because you're putting in the hours that ain't nobody paying attention to. Flex because you're sweating and you're doing it without being told to do it. You understand? This is then when we start, when they say you're getting closer to the collective. Before, we were so distant from being collective this way. Now, we're like here. We're like, yes, we know what this body can do, but we know what this mind allows us to go. And to put them together, we can create our own visions of our own planets and our own places and the technology we use from the places we came from to recombine them and make them utilize here on Earth and make hybrids. The concept of a hybrid is not new. It is so old. We've always like, if I put this and this together, oh, I get something 3. The 3 has always been like, whoa, the hybrid. It's like this crazy thing of all of it. We're hybrids, people. Our souls, we didn't pick our souls. We don't pick the emotions that we dwell on and hold on to and remind us of past lives. Okay, we didn't pick this body. So now we have 2 separate entities, body and soul, that come together and they make the hybrid us, which is now this physical thing moving around with life source in it, just how we think we look at ants and stuff and other animals that we say are not as whatever on our cognitive level. Their bodies and survival skills for as long as they lived have been their intelligence. But then we somehow morphed our adaptive skills of living and evolving to then make our adaptive feelings on the outside become our inside, and now we're able to walk around and apply it in a way that's what we call cognitive reasoning and all this stuff, and being able to think past our emotions to make choices that we feel are logical. Okay, well, you still had to dwindle that all down, or dwindle all the way down through all of your emotions. These emotions are so brand new to all of us. They're so new. Again, the words that like empathy and this and that, all of these extra words to describe our symptoms of feeling is saying it's time to wake up and give so much more attention, not just to the facts that we create, but the emotionality that it was created from. We don't just make stuff up because we think it. We feel something, and then it gets processed through a bunch of stuff, and then we put it out to the world. Let's start being respectful and smart about how we start to rebuild, because however we pack that foundation, let's pack it. Pack it tight. As many little cells you can get in there, pack it tight, condense it, concentrate it. This is how we lay a layer of foundation that is impermeable. Not forever, but enough that we can hold space and foundation to keep growing, so we stop sinking into the collapse of our old ways. I love you guys. I hope that made sense, because my brain just be like, whatever, say it. Have a wonderful day, guys. Mwah, 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 mwah.